as between the two of us, Peter is a more technically oriented person, the one more able to provide me with that kind of information to help me do the work. I have been involved in landfill site since the first consent decrees. There are two of them were signed in the 1990s, and I would be more familiar with the organizational aspects of the group and the interrelationship between DES, EPA, and the Coakley Landfill Group. As every single one of the prior speakers has made abundantly clear, the Coakley Landfill Group is the Coakley Landfill site is a very complicated, very expensive, very serious situation. The bill which is in front of you now, boiled to its essence, really says two things. Number one, because of a perceived imminent hazard at the site, that the legislature should direct DES to do something extraordinary, obviously, something that DES is not doing on its own. That's what the bill says. The group would say to you now that, number one, there is no imminent hazard at the site. DES has just addressed that point. No one is drinking water that is unsafe as a result of the Coakley landfill. There are issues which require continuing monitoring, and in the past, when situations have come up that required remedial action, that remedial action has taken place virtually immediately. In two locations, 1,4-dioxane at low levels was discovered in drinking water wells, and within 10 days, the Coakley Landfill Group had installed private treatment systems in the two locations where that 1,4-dioxane was observed, and in both cases, this reduced the 1,4-dioxane level in the water to zero, non-detectable. So when problems come up, at the direction of the EPA and DES, the landfill group has responded and dealt with the situation. So number one, there is no imminent hazard. There are issues that need to be constantly monitored and addressed for sure, but there is not, as this bill would recite, an imminent hazard. And number two, as I said, what this bill reduced to its essence would have you do is, because of that imminent hazard, which we represent doesn't exist, they would have you order DES to do something other than what it would ordinarily do to take care of the Coakley landfill situation. That second part of what the bill asked you to do is what I'll address next, and that is this. In the 1990s, when the Coakley landfill problems first began to surface, the responsible parties, the city of Portsmouth and maybe 100 others, the state of New Hampshire, and the United States government entered into two agreements, consent decrees, to form a structure as how to deal with these Coakley problems. That structure, the two consent decrees, they are really contracts between the federal government, the responsible parties like the city of Portsmouth, and the state of New Hampshire. That contract was signed by all of those parties, including the state of New Hampshire at that time. Now, not only are the consent decrees contracts, they are really special contracts, because the consent decree portion of it, that decree word, means that these contracts were approved by the federal court. So they are contracts between the city and the other responsible parties, the United States government, and the state of New Hampshire, which have been approved and signed off on by the federal court system. The second thing that this bill asks you to do is to order DES to do something other than what it's already doing under these contracts. That step right there would be a violation of the contract. The reason why the responsible parties like the city of Portsmouth were willing to enter into these consent decrees back in the 1990s was it provided some structure of how everyone's responsibility towards the land site would be outlined and described and could be carried out. And as DES has told you this morning, this is a federal site. The structure is basically that the Environmental Protection Agency, with significant input from the Department of Environmental Services, controls this site. For the 25 odd years or so that the site has been under control of EPA, more actions have been taken than I could ever list for you during the remainder of your term. It is a big, ongoing, constant, scientific, technical activity. And it is being done by people such as EPA and DES who have the scientific and technical ability to determine what ought to happen, and they're doing that pursuant to these contracts that I've described to you. And if you can tell DES to do anything other than what is in those contracts, it would breach the contract, and it will create a situation where the United States government kept its word for 25 years, the responsible parties kept their word for 25 years, but now all of a sudden the state of New Hampshire is not going to keep its word anymore, and it's going to do something different. In the materials that we've handed out to you just now, we've given you sort of the technical, legal reasons why what I just said is true, but it really all sort of boils down after you go through the language of the contract and the constitutional provisions that are implicated by it. It really just boils down to that. The United States government has kept its word, the responsible parties have kept their word, and we would hope that the state of New Hampshire will keep its word as well.
I'm here to make some questions.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your testimony. I am interested in these contracts. I mean, they were signed a while ago. Things change over time. The environment changes over time. The way the landfill